What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I think this is going to be one that we're going to remember. Let's remember this date. What is it? September 18th, 2025. Because this marks the official end to what has been the nuttiest, the craziest, the least predictable FIVB World Championship pool play of all time. Of all time. Right? My name is Everett, and today we are going to talk about some volleyball. And before we jump into some things, I do have to say that this has been one of the most entertaining, the most entertaining pool play we have ever seen. And I feel like every single year, there's always some early upsets. There's always some big matches early on where, a lesser team wins. And then once we get to the end of pool play, it's all kind of chalk. Sure, some of the top teams aren't in the, necessary pool or seeding that they should be, but usually all the top teams make it out, right? And me especially, when we expand this tournament to 32 teams, we saw what happened on the women's side. And when you expand to that many more teams, you just think that it's going to be way more predictable, right? Like that's what I was expecting. I thought that this one was going to be chalk and was going to be predictable start to finish. And it has been anything but that. Things that we've learned. Europe is fucking deep. Europe is the deepest volleyball region in the world, bar none. And I mean, we already knew that, but it has been emphasized here at these World Championships. In only one match did a non-European team beat a European team, and that was Qatar over Romania, which means absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Igor, we know why you're not watching. We are going to talk about it. I'm sorry about that, bud. I do apologize. That one is a heartbreaker, more so than the other one. I would think. Oh, my hair is really bad right now. Let's just fix that up. I don't think anyone's going to be complimenting my looks today. It's been in my hat all day as I've been prepping for this. Today was absolutely unreal, and it capped off what has been just a truly unpredictable group stage, up and down. The other thing that we've known, and the other big thing, is that you need to want it. Skill is no longer just the only thing that you need to have. You need to go out there and want it. And it doesn't matter if you're the defending Olympic champs. It doesn't matter if you're the defending world champs. It doesn't matter if you are arguably the greatest program of all time. If you don't show up and you're not ready to play, you're going to get your ass handed to you. And that's exactly what we've seen throughout this tournament. All right. So without further ado, we're going to jump into what we are looking at in terms of who is moving on and who is getting eliminated. All right. There is a lot of surprises on the eliminated side. First and foremost, Brazil. We're going to talk a lot about them. This is their worst result ever at almost any event at all. France, the two-time defending champs. They brought their entire lineup, and it wasn't good enough. They could only get one win. Cuba, one of the most decorated teams of all time, a team that made it to the, was very impressive in the VNL, absolutely just shit the bed. Germany, I mean, they were in a tough pool, could have gone either way. That's too bad. Japan, right? We already talked about that, so we're not going to go in on Japan. On Japan. If you want to know my feelings, you can go check out the last episode. Other than that, I think it's pretty normal when we go down. But big ups to teams like Czechia, Serbia, Portugal, Turkey for getting through, Finland. Wow. Just wow overall. Great job. But we're going to break some of this down. There's a few matches, 3 in particular, that we're going to talk about, and then we're going to go through things pool by pool. And then we're going to go and break down the bracket a little bit. How does that sound? All right. Hope that sounds good. Now, first and foremost, we have to talk about what was one of the most shocking results of the day, and that is Serbia taking down Brazil 3-0. And now heading into this one, Brazil just needed to win one set. Just needed to win one set to be able to go get a even on set ratio with Czechia. Czechia, of course, opened the tournament by 3-donging Serbia. Then Brazil turned around and 3-donged Czechia. And then today, Serbia 3-donged Brazil. And it really, like, this one wasn't necessarily about X's and O's. It was all about wanting it more. Who wanted it more and who was going to be showing up to this match. And the one thing that we need to say about the Serbs, and this has been universal, is that they're a very proud country. And when their back is against the wall, the best of them comes out. And Brazil should have expected that today, and they absolutely didn't. Also, Brazil also has to thank, or maybe not thank, China through this all, because China were the ones who couldn't get the job, who took a set off of Brazil in the first place, and then B, they couldn't take a set off of Czechia today. Czechia, who was missing their top player in Lucas Fashina. Okay, so it was wild. Yes, Dado, Serbia did play 1 point with 7 players on the court. They had 4 in the back row, including a libero, and three up at the net, and the refs didn't see it. I mean, I'm gonna stay away from making any comments about the referees. We know my history in with referees. Okay, if you're an OVA ref, I've probably yelled at you. It's really it's just not a good look. So I'm gonna stay away. I'm gonna stay away from that one. But overall, you have to show up. You have to show up against Serbia when their back is against the wall, and that is exactly what didn't happen in this one. And it was a domination, not a domination like utterly, but you could tell that Serbia was there to play, and Brazil was just kind of floating through the motions, just floating through the motions. And I mean, there is reasons for that, and I think through all of this, we need to send our hearts out to this man right here, one of the best ever to do it, one of the legendary coaches of the sport, who was clearly and visibly distraught before the match, in tears, learning about the death of his mother. It's never easy to lose a parent, and my heart goes out for him. I'm sure he felt absolutely terrible of the fact that he couldn't be with her in her dying moments, and that he was completely on the other side of the world when this happened. And so first and foremost, we need to send our hearts out to an absolute legend, someone who has built Brazilian volleyball and built volleyball in general, and done so much for the sport. So first and foremost, we have to send our hearts out to him, because, you know, he's one of the greatest to ever do it. And this was definitely, you know, for everyone else, watching this, as I said, September 18th was a huge day and a big day and a memorable day. But for Bernardino, it might be one of the worst days of his life. Not only do you lose your mother, that's tough. That more than tough, you know, that's devastating. But you lead Brazil, and the only loss of you only lose one match in your tournament, and then all of a sudden, the greatest program in volleyball finishes with its worst result. That's really tough. So my heart truly goes out to Bernardino in this one. He's not just on the Mount Rushmore of Brazilian volleyball. He's on the Mount Rushmore of in all of volleyball. So the fact that he's gone through this at this moment, I think is really tough, and my heart goes out to him fully. But unfortunately, it doesn't matter what happens outside of the court in these moments. What matters is what happens inside the court. And I think that there's really, like, there's no X's and O about this. It's about who wanted it more. And there was two things about Brazil's game plan and Brazil's play in general that wasn't great. First and foremost was their serving. It was way too lackadaisical. Serbia's not a great receive team, right? They're not a great ball control team, but they are a really physical and a really good out of system attacking team. And I think that's exactly what we saw in this one. Brazil only had 2 aces on Serbia, and I didn't feel like there was enough. And I mean, even Kachopa said it in an interview too afterwards, that they didn't put enough pressure on them and they didn't cause enough chaos in the Serbian ranks. And Serbia's big and strong, and they have like Luberic, Peric, Masulovic, Kujundžić. All of these guys are big and physical and can hit the ball out of system. And then their offense seemed to be out of rhythm, and especially in transition, they just weren't being aggressive, and it wasn't the Brazilian volleyball that we know. And for me, it's a tough one, because when you are a play, like when you're playing in these matches, if you are a player and you see what happens to your coach, and you see your coach in a spot like this, to me, it should galvanize your team and be, hey, let's go. Let's go be the best team in the world. Let's go be a team that has medaled at the 6 past world championships. Okay, let's go and be the best team in the world. And they came out flat. They came out absolutely flat when Serbia was absolutely flying. And you know, like, you have to give so much credit to this Serbian team, because this Serbian team came out and wanted to fight. Serbia's the best when they're the underdogs. This is, as I said, a very, very proud country, and it was the exact same thing when we saw them trying to qualify for the 2024 Olympics. And Serbia, while I don't think they are one of the strongest teams out there, are still a very, very good volleyball nation and can still get that job done and still have quality absolutely everywhere. You know, would we like to see them apply themselves a little bit more other than when they're completely down and out? But no, but it is tough. It is tough sometimes, and Serbia on this day was better. People in the chat are saying that, you know, Brazil at its best wasn't lose to the Serbian team. Absolutely not. There's no doubt about it. I fully agree with that. However, Brazil wasn't at its best today, and they should have been. That's just the bar none. Like, it doesn't matter that in reality you won 2 matches and 1 set loss against China and 1 match loss against Serbia is what kills you, is what ends, you know, one of the greatest world championship streaks ever. I mean, if you're looking at the screen right now, Brazil has medaled at every event since 2002, 6 straight medals. Since 1982, they've only failed to make the semifinals once, just once, and that was back in 1994, before the Bernardino era. So this has been one of the worst days ever for Brazilian volleyball. And the reality is, too, when you're looking on, like, in the grand scheme of things, we've seen Brazil kind of fall down. And I mean, even look at that. Like, they were winning in the 2000s, getting second in the 2010s. 2022, they got third. And their bracket, they had a clean road to the finals and just couldn't get it done. And that is absolutely heartbreaking. But, you know, for someone who grew up in the 2000s and started being aware of volleyball in the 2000s, in the Dante, in the Giba, in the Murillo, in the Ricardinho, Sergio, Bruno, young Bruno, in that era, you know, looking at this result, and then you look at the U21 World Championships where Iran is winning and Brazil is losing to Canada in a 17th place match, you have to wonder if this is the end of Brazilian volleyball in so many ways. And it's tough to see them go out like this, maybe one of the toughest things overall. Okay, but once again, big ups to Serbia. They showed up. They balled out when they need to. They bounced back really, really nicely from that opening loss to Czechia, took care of business against China, and then took care of business as well against Brazil today. And there's nothing else more to say about that. Once again, our hearts go out to Bernardino Rezende and everything that he had. Oh, actually, there is. No, actually, I don't really want to get into it on the Brazil side of things, especially with that Lucarelli interview. If you guys want to get mad at him for, you know, just kind of trying to laugh off a loss, like, on national television when you know your country is watching. Like this isn't Canada where people only watch on VBTV or CBCSports.ca. Volleyball is on, like, this loss is talked about on Brazilian ESPN. I don't need to be on that picture. This loss is talked about on Brazilian ESPN. So if you're Lucarelli out there and he's getting asked, what just happened, especially in the emotions of it all, I'm sure he wanted to yell. I'm sure he wanted to get upset, but he's media trained and he's a professional. So if you guys want to get mad at Lucarelli for that, then sure. I don't think it's warranted at all. All right. Now, from one of the most legendary teams in the world to the two-time defending Olympic champs, there was, heading into this tournament, there was a big four. A lot of fans would have liked to think that there was a big five, including Japan. And regardless of the way that you look at it, 4 or 5, there's only 2 teams left, and that's Poland and Italy. We'll talk about them a little bit later. France's golden era, their best era ever for volleyball, has now been out like a flame. 2 really, really tough 5-set losses to close out this World Championship with them. First and foremost, losing to Finland 2 days ago. Missing Klevno and Legoff due to injury, and it was just a really, really sloppy game on France's part. Engapeth was really bad. He had 9 points. He was 9 for 22 in attacking, 41% hitting, and only 23% efficiency. And overall, France was just really, really sloppy. They made 37 unforced errors, 27 misserves is absolutely wild. And for only 6 aces as well, that's just not good enough. They need to be more disciplined as a team in that situation, and they just absolutely weren't. I think you need to give a whole bunch of credit, so much credit, to the Finnish team who took them down. I know it says France versus Argentina here, but I only got the asset for this one. We're just going to touch about this one real quick because I don't think that one is as indicative of what France could do. Missing Klevno, missing Le Goff. France played this match with Luetzi and Matisse Heno on the left side. So that was really tough. And at the same time, you've got a Finnish team who came out here to ball. They came out here to ball. No one really knew much about Finland. Luka Martila was unreal. Jonas Jokela, outstanding. Tanisma as well, the young middle blocker. We'll talk about Finland in a little bit. That's not going to be about this one. But then today, just because of how Finland went out, they lost in 5 to Argentina, got a big point there, beat France in 5, got 2 points there, and then took care of Korea 3-1 today, so for a total of 6 points. But they had the 2 match wins, and that was the most important thing. So regardless, one of the 2 top teams, I'm going to call Argentina a top team, especially with the Checo at the helm, was going to be going home. And this match, I felt, had 3 parts. Right, there was the first part, sets 1 and 2, that France was struggling. They had Engapeth out there. They had Patry out there who weren't that good. In the third, they brought in the kids. They brought in Théophore. They brought in Luetzi, and that's when France started to dominate. This may be a spicy take, but up until the 5th, through 4 sets, I thought that France was the better team. Right, the first 2 sets that Argentina won were on the ropes. It was 28-26 and a 25-23 in sets 1 and 2. Whereas France was controlling the pace of play and controlling that match through sets 3 and 4. The big difference to me was set number 5, where I think France let the best of their emotions get to them, and you also saw Chinese go down at the end of the 4th there. They had to bring in Huetz, and he was just not the best option there. And I'll talk about it a little bit, but first I think we need to give our roses to Argentina because they came out and balled. They came out and balled. This was a really good Argentine team who, albeit they don't have the roster that they once did. They don't have a Facundo Conte. They don't have a Bruno Lima. The Checo is still the Checo, but he's not quite what he was back in 2021. This is still a really, really good team, and they proved that. De Checo was absolutely in his bag with an absolute vintage performance, and that's what you want to see from Luciano De Checo. 40% or 50% hitting for his team and a 42% efficiency. That's one of the big things, is that Argentina was efficient, and when they got their chances, they took them. Argentina was only blocked 5 times, only 5 soft blocks for a French team that is really, really good down the middle. Like Le Goff and Chenyezi is about as good as it gets in terms of middles, and still DeCecco had them on skates all day long. And not to mention, DeCecco was even playing defense. DeCecco was playing defense. He was running down balls, one-handed digs. And, much like Canada, when Luke Kerr is serving those aces, when DeCecco is playing defense, whoo-wee, watch out. Watch out. The other part of it here for Argentina is this man right here, Luciano Vicentin, who had the absolute match of his life. 22 points. He was 21 for 33 in attacking, hitting a 68% and a 58% efficiency. Ooh-wee! Lucci! Well done. Well done. That was just an absolute performance, and he was almost automatic. And I love to see it because he has struggled at times over the last little bit. He struggled coming in off the bench for Jastrzębski this season. It seemed like he struggled to even find the court behind other guys throughout the VNL, but he has really, really stepped up here, especially in this match. I think that this is one of the best matches we have ever seen from him, and there's, in my opinion, there's no doubt about it. And it just felt like this Argentinian team was stepping up for each other. Guys like Kukartsev, whose offense wasn't that great, was able to find other ways to contribute, and he contributed in a big way in blocks, right? He had 4 blocks on the day. And really, I thought that blocking overall was the big difference between these two teams, especially in the fifth. In the fifth, Argentina got 3 big stuff blocks, and that was what kind of allowed them to create that separation. And then also, they also got 3 touches and were able to convert those on transition attempts. And I think that's absolutely huge, right? Getting touches is fantastic, but only if you're able to convert those. And I think that's one of the big things when, looking at the difference between France and Argentina, especially in the fifth set. Now, talking about this French team and this match, I think once again there was 2 different matches. There was the first 2 sets where things weren't working, and then in the third they brought in the younger guys, right? Well, they brought in Théophore first, and then they brought in Luetzi just a little bit after starting Engepeth. And I think that, especially in that 5th set, they were really, really undisciplined. They had some blocking errors. You also had some bad blocking. There was one moment, and I know it was Uetz who clearly wasn't in the game, where they were leaving Vicentin open. They had 2 blockers go up with Gallego of all players, and they left Vicentin open in the pipe, and he just went down and put it down with a tip. So it's really, really tough. And then, in the 5th set, we saw Théophore, who led them in scoring through sets 3 and 4, was unreal off the bench. He was 2 for 11 in set number 5, and a lot of the big issues came right just as at that juncture. It was 8-7, and then he got a one-on-one slam. Then it was 9-7 because all got him on a one-on-one, which he tipped. They got the ball back. He swung off the block, and Argentina was able to transition it with an unreal set off the net. DeCecco ran a sick 31 to Lozère and put it away, no problem. Now, it was probably one of the worst sets of his life because he got packed a little bit after that at 13-11, which was really, really tough, and just not the best for Théophore. But you can't really blame it on a young guy like that, and it was tough. We do have to talk about this man right here, Irvin Ingepeth, because he was even worse in this match than he was against Finland. 7 points through 2.5 sets, 7 for 25, 28% hitting, and a 4% efficiency. And the thing is that Engapeth tried, like this team tried everything they could to get Engapeth going. This team tried everything. They gave him the most volume through sets 1 and 3, right? He got 25 sets through 2.5 sets, 2.5 sets of work. And on top of that, Argentina was making him work too by giving him every single ball in serve receive. So conditioning was definitely a factor here. And you can't say it wasn't. Like, conditioning was absolutely a factor in this one. And it was a tough look for France, having their 2-time Olympic MVP getting subbed off in this one. It was it was tough overall, but at the end of the day, he wasn't there for the 5th set. And well, I guess we'll talk about it now. I don't think I have a picture of it, but everyone and people are talking about it in the chat. And we talked about, also I will be posting it in the chat. Shout out to Chem, because we will be doing the Volleyball Source group stage awards. We'll be picking a 1st and 2nd team, and then we've got a few of our superlatives, including the Davide Mazzanti Award of Stoogery. And a lot of people are calling for Giani, which I absolutely don't understand. And to be honest, I think there's a bunch of babies in the Discord who are just absolute soft snowflakes about it. There is 2 different things that people are talking about. First and foremost, about him telling Chinese to put some water on the ground. And no, it wasn't like put some water on the ground so the other team slips on it. It was just put some water on the ground so the wipers have to come out and we get a little bit more time to keep going, right? This is a really, really chippy game. There was a lot of talking through the net, right? There was a lot of beaking at each other and like a lot of going back and forth. And France clearly needed a little bit of time. Now, is it the most ethical thing to do? No. But like at the end of the day, it's no different than someone being like, oh, I need to tie my shoe, or a player who gets injured, not injured, but like hurts, gets a little tweak and then has to lay down. It's like, oh, and then jumps up and it is back again. Or it's no different than calling a challenge in a ball that everyone knows was 5 feet away from the block. If you're not out there wanting to win, then what the fuck are you doing? If you're not out there trying to gain every single little advantage, then I don't know what you're doing, okay? The other one is a situation at the end of the match, which I also thought was a little bit weird, but I do think is a little bit of blown out of proportion. After his interview, the Argentine team is cheering, and Giani goes over and chats with them, and he clearly stops their celebration and stops what they were talking about. And yeah, Mackie, I do also find it was funny that it was right in front of the camera, because Jonathan Lagarde was just like, oh, what a class act, blah, 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 blah. Where it clearly, like, he was asking him to stop. Now, it seemed like he was asking them to stop because, a lot of these French guys, or a bunch of these French guys, are retiring. It was the end of things. But I really think that, none of the Argentinian guys seem to have a big problem with it. Vicentin had his interview on Volleyball World TV right after that, and they asked him about it. He goes, that's just between us. He congratulated us, and that's all we need to talk about. Checo doubled down about that later on. I think it was on like Argentinian TV. So I do think it was a little bit weird, but I also think that like it was very clear that none of the Argentinian players really took offense over it. And now all of our France friends in the Discord are out here like, oh, Giani should have done this, or Giani should have done that. Like, what else did you want him to do? Like, in terms of like running out the game, you're not going to start Engapeth. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people have feelings about him, but regardless, when this team is at its best, is because Engapeth is at his best, right? And I know a lot of people don't agree that he should have been the 2-time defending Olympic MVP. And while I may kind of agree with that, you can't deny that it wasn't necessary for him to, Engapeth wasn't necessary for them to be, was necessary for them to win. That's the be all end all of it, right? This team needs Engapeth to win. That's the be all end all about it. Like there's something about being in a locker room and you know who your best players are and you know who your leaders are, right? I absolutely guarantee that if the French players would have voted who they wanted to start in that match, it would have been that exact lineup. It would have been that exact lineup. There's no doubt about it. And as things weren't going, he made the switch and then they dominated sets 3 and 4. I don't know what else you want from this man, okay? It's not his fault that Chinenese went down and they brought in GREATS, who was not ready. It's not his fault that Théophile went 2 for 9 in attacking in a 5th set. Or sorry, 2 for 11. Okay? So I think it sucks. And it just is what it is, right? There's so many, like, if you want to put a blame on someone, look more at Brizard or look more at like some of these other guys. Like Brizard missed so many serves in the match against Finland, right? There's so many other opportunities for things to happen. So yeah, I think when Engapeth is on his game, he's one of the best in the world and inspires this team to be better, right? His serve receive is unreal. We know what he can do in defense. And when he's at his best, he's clutch in those best moments. But when he's bad, he is really, really bad. And that is the, you know, the angel and the devil of Irvin Engapeth. And unfortunately, that's probably the last we're going to see from him in this era of French volleyball. And one of the reasons why apparently Giani was going over to talk to Argentina was because of that this was apparently the last match for Engapeth, Grebennikov, and Le Goff. And I'm sure Toniutti is in there too, as he's getting up there in age as well. And it is the end for the end of an era for a French team that changed volleyball in a lot of ways. And like, I'm not going to talk about that, but I have like feelings about how this French team has played. And you know what? Much like Japan, who before was not very good and came back to life, France is that exact same team. Like when you look at their World Championship results, like 11th place in 2014, and then they got a 4th place. No, sorry, 11th place in 2010, and then they got a 4th in 2014. Like, they didn't qualify for a number of Olympics. They got 9th in 2004. They got 9th in 2016, which is behind Canada in 2016. And then this team, I think it was in 2015 or 2014, came from like Group 2 of the World League at the time. And then they became one of the best teams in the world and one of the most influential teams in the world. I mean, look at what they've done at the European Championships. It's so indicative of France volleyball. They won it all in 2015 and they got 9th in 2017. That's just France volleyball. And we've always known it to be that when they are the best, they can be the best. But when they're not going, they just weren't going. And it's tough when one of your best players in Engapeth is out of shape, and with another one of your best players in Clevno is injured and on painkillers. So overall, sucks for France, but that's just the reality of it. I think all of you babies and snowflakes in the Discord crying about Giani are just proving Stephen Marr right. You don't actually know what happens in a dressing room, and you don't actually understand team dynamics. You expect this all to just be a video game where everyone has stats and you just go out there and just do it and win. And that's all. So we're going to move on now from talking about France, and we are going to talk about my Canadians. And I know you guys would all clown me if we didn't touch on this match. First and foremost, congratulations to Berkay and Cem and all of our Turkish fans in the chat, in the Discord, for winning this one. That's 2 world champs in a row where we haven't even been able to win a set from you. And yeah, that it is what it is. Congratulations. We played our absolute worst match of the summer. We had no rhythm in our offense. We had no rhythm in our side out. We couldn't get anything going offensively. Our transition game was abysmal. Our serve and block relationship that was so on point against Japan was just not there. And on the other hand, Turkey came out to play. This team came out to ball. Like, you're seeing the stats there in front of you. They hit 43 kills and hit a 61%, and we had 28 kills and hit a 38%. We made 24 errors. They made 19. Now, blocking, I think it's even here, but I thought that they were better in blocking with us. Our blocks were made from athletic plays and getting stuffs, whereas they had more touches. And then the same thing with serving. Even though we had 8 aces, we missed 19 serves in only 3 sets, which is abysmal, right? We gave them more than an entire set in points, and that sucks. But it just the way it was. And our Turkey was absolutely outstanding. Adis Lagumja was unreal, and he torched us. 15 for 21. 15 for 21. He was unreal. And, this is a player that I have been critical at times. Like, I did a full video breakdown of him playing for Lube earlier this year, and I thought he was really predictable, and he was predictably amazing against us. No doubt about it. So was his brother Mirza. I mean, Efe Mandaracha, who I think is one of the most underrated and surprising players in volleyball, was a little average against us. Was just a little average, and it sucks because it was one of our worst matches of the year, up there with our loss against the U.S. in Chicago, up there with our loss to Serbia in week number 3. It was in Bulgaria or Hong Kong. I can't really remember. It doesn't really matter. But overall, we showed up, or we didn't show up. I mean, I don't even want to get into our stats because no one was in double digits. Like, Sho was one of our leading players with 8, but that was mostly because of his serving. Offensively, he was bad. Heslinga was one of our few guys who was any good. I think he led us in kills with 6. It was just a bad day for this team overall. I was expecting Canada to be much better prepared and much better overall. And in the first, it seemed like we started slow. Sho went on that serving run, kept it going, and then and I was like, all right, we just need to clean some things up, and that's exactly what Dan Lewis said in the timeout. And then the second set was worse, way worse, and we did see a little bit more energy and a little bit more interesting play towards the end of towards the third. They made some subs, brought in Elgert, brought in Howe, brought in Young, and it just really wasn't able to do anything. Hogue brought us back with some really good serving to tie things up at 22-22. But Turkey just made no mistake, and I think you need to give full credit to Turkey. They're a really, really good team. And I'll tell you guys right now that, like, in my superlatives, I voted Slobodan Kovac as the best coach in this tournament so far. I think that the change that we've seen from this Turkish team from VNL to now has been tremendous, and I don't think that them winning this pool is a fluke at all. So congratulations to Turkey. We'll see you again in the quarterfinals. Maybe. We'll see. Yeah. Now we're going to move on. I'm going to break down the pools one by one. We'll just talk about a few of the results going on, and then we'll finish things up by looking at the bracket. So first and foremost, we are going to look here at Pool A. Pool A, obviously the weakest pool. And I really, really feel for the Philippines. The Philippines is... First and foremost, we have to give them a lot of credit because I thought after the first match, getting 3 down by Tunisia the way that they did, I thought that it was going to be over. I thought that the Philippines was going to struggle to win a set, and at the end of the day, they were 1 set away, 1 point away from winning this match and moving on to the next round. And I thought it was really, really tough. Especially, you think you win the match at 2018 in the 5th. Big block, and that net touch. Oh, this is why I hate net touches, because that net touch had no bearing on the play whatsoever. No bearing whatsoever. It did not affect the play. He gained no advantage by dropping his hand and hitting the bottom of the net on the way down. Absolutely none. We need to go back, and this is a perfect time to talk about it. We need to go back to only that top tape being being out of play, because that had no bearing whatsoever. And I 100% think that Philippines should have won that match. Absolutely should have won that match. There's no reason for a hand coming down and hitting the and hitting the netting and hitting the bottom tape to be an issue. You can't call it a safety thing either, because that's why we have the center line violation. Okay, you don't want people gaining an advantage on that top tape. Fine, but it wasn't there, and that really sucks for Turkey, or not Turkey, for the Philippines. I feel for you guys. I think that this team really came alive. Like, Brian Bogunias was amazing. I'm excited to watch him in the SV League next year. But also Leo Ordiales on the right side, 21 points, 19 for 25. He swung 66% with a 52% efficiency, had a block and an ace. Unreal. He did have 9 serving errors, though, in this one, and Philippines serving needs a lot of work. 22 errors when they're not really putting that much pressure on at all. And Peter, I absolutely agree. Tunisia winning set number 2, or winning Pool A, is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I could not have expected that whatsoever. I'll be honest, I didn't watch this match. I didn't tune in the middle of the night for the Battle of Africa, but I'm also not surprised that that Tunisia won this match. I'm more surprised that Egypt even beat Iran to give themselves a chance. So it was, overall, all my notes from Pool A is that I do think that Iran looks all right. Obviously, my guy Piazza is leading them, but I don't know if they have much shot in this. Actually, who knows? Because they're playing against Pool H, and that's the Brazil-less pool with Czechia and Serbia coming out. So we'll talk about the outcome in a little bit. Just big ups for the Philippines. I wanted to see you guys win in that. It's too bad, like, I woke up and I watched the match after it was done, so I already knew the result. But yeah, really tough for the Philippines, and that's all we're really going to talk about it, because no one in this pool, I think, is going to do anything big, unfortunately. All right, moving on to Pool B, which is not really a talking factor either. This is the one pool that went the way it should have. Poland got the easiest pool out of pretty much everyone. Like, their only other VNL team in this is the Dutch, who, while played much better, they went away from trying to play the Namir style of game where they just gave everything to the outside. Coops was very good in 2 matches for them. Michel Ayi was still fantastic, but he's not getting as much volume as he was in the VNL. I think that this pool was pretty boring. You knew that Poland was going to take it, and nothing really happened. Big shout out to Romania for being the one European team to lose to a non-European team. So some people in the Discord earlier were being like, no, all the pools are difficult at the World Championships. Poland was great. Poland did what they needed to do, okay? If you want to sit over here and glaze Poland for beating Netherlands, Qatar, and Romania, go for it. I hope you feel really good about yourself. Now, that's not saying that Poland isn't a favorite to win this tournament, especially now, and especially how I'm very lukewarm on Italy. But still, this is not an issue for Poland. Romania did have those fire jerseys. Nice little pun there. Okay, moving on to Pool C. Now, we've mostly talked about it here in Pool C. Big up for Argentina getting all 3 wins. They did lose a set to Korea, so maybe that's a little bit of a misfire. But of course, in Argentina fashion, the 5-set addicts went to 5 in 2 of their matches, and that's why, like, this was tough. Finland, Argentina, and France, all 3 of those teams, all 3 of their matches against each other went to 5. They battled it out every single time. Sorry, my hair is bad. I'm just seeing. So this one was a really entertaining match. Finland going out and beating Korea the way they did really put themselves in a good position, and I think we need to give so much credit to this Finnish team and to their coach. Like, they're not rocking Tervaporti like they used to. this has to be one of the most unexpected teams, I think, to move through, especially with the pool that they had. But they also fully deserve it. Like Luca Martilla, where was that when he was playing for Monza this year? I didn't know he was that good. I did not know he was that good. He was just he was unreal all the way through. Jonas Jokela, very, very underrated. Whoever his agent is needs to get fired, because the fact that he's going to play for Cambrai in France Pro B next year after this performance is crazy. I would not be surprised to see him moving in the winter transfer window. Right, I would not be surprised to see him moving at all. And then I think Fedor Ivanov as well. Their new. Oh, also Tunisma. Tunisma, huge down the middle, has to be one of the big breakout players of this tournament. But also Fedor Ivanov, their setter. And Otervo Porti is a guy who we've seen play at the highest levels of pro before, and Ivanov was 100% the right guy to go with. You know, they did win the Golden League this year, and I think that Finland is going to be a very, very interesting team to watch. And, you know, I was watching them quite a bit throughout the U21 World Championships, and like that was a team that balled. They were in the top half of the bracket. So I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see what this Finnish team can do over the next few years. And now I think LA is out of the question with how good Europe is in general. But you know, I grew up in a 2010s era where Finland was serviceable. Finland was a World League team all the way through, and I'm expecting to see Finland once again back in the VNL. No doubt about it. They're a very interesting team, and you got to love it. Pool D. Pool D was one of the other ones that was, I guess, more or less straightforward. You just had that one match between Portugal and Cuba early on. Now, Cuba needed something special to come out of USA, even though Portugal was holding the stick a little too tight against Colombia there, but they managed to pull it back and win that one in 5. Cuba did have more of a chance, and I was rooting for Cuba. I was rooting for Cuba. I really was. I thought that, especially how good they were after VNL, that this was a team that was going to go make some waves here, right? I thought that this was a team that was going to come out and be dominant. And I think that there's a few things to address here when talking about the Cuban teams. I think they just missed a massive opportunity, an absolutely massive opportunity to miss a run in this tournament. I think that stooge coaching is really what struck again for Cuba. We've talked about it so many times, and it has to be talked again. You should have started Gomez over Thondike. I thought Gomez was such a game changer for them in the VNL this year. He has the balls to set the middle in sketchy situations. When you have a guy like Robert Landy Simon, when you have someone who's physical like Javier Concepcion. Also, Javier, you're a guy. I'm sorry for putting you in the thumbnail, but it was just too perfect not to. It was just too perfect not to. I apologize. Okay, I hope you give us interviews again, because you know we love you. I just thought this was a mismanagement from Cuba, and they need to show up. It's not good enough to play great against Brazil. You need to show up against the other teams too. You need to show up against Portugal, right? Once again, I thought that they should have started Gomez in the Portuguese game and against the U.S. In this one too. They didn't make any changes until that third set when it was too late. And I think that if you're going to change your setter, you don't also take out your number one hitter from the summer, right? Yant was having a bad match, but if you're going to take out Thondike, keep Yant in for a little bit, because Lopez hasn't been it. He hasn't been it. And then Melgarejo was terrible in the fourth. They still had a chance to push it to like, if they had won in 5 too, I'm pretty sure. Let's go back and look at the numbers. Yeah, if Cuba had won this match in 5, it would have gone down to point ratio and not set ratio, because they would have been even on sets. And they couldn't even get that done. So it's really, really tough to feel bad for Cuba. It sucks for one of the greatest of all time that he won't get to, a chance again to make another run. But in my opinion, it absolutely should have been a USA-Cuba 1-2. And Cuba just did not bring their best of themselves and didn't really change things up either. Once again, it has to come down to coaching. And it's, yeah, really, really tough. Now, looking at the US of A, it's really hard to judge this team right now. It's really hard to say how good they actually are. But we're going to look at the bracket. Whoo-wee! The fact that this USA team with this roster could very well be in the final. I don't think it's absolutely at all crazy to say that this American team could make the final. Is wild all around. Absolutely wild. But the big thing about this American team is that they just took care of business. They did what they needed to do. And yeah, Zeko, you're completely right. After they won the 2 sets, they absolutely knew that they had, got that first place in the bag, brought on the entire bench, and USA still took care of business. I think a few things have happened here. Obviously, Micah Christensen joining this roster really opened things up. It really reminds me of that one season he played, or that last season he played for Modena, and it was just him and Grebenikov and like Rinaldi. And I think they had like Buchkaker. I can't even remember. No, it wasn't Buchkaker, but they had like someone not great on the left side. So there was that. And then I also think that this team worked a lot in the 5 weeks that was off between the VNL and these World Championships. This team looks way cleaner. I'm still an absolute Ethan Champlin truther. And you know what? Like that, the outsides that they have with Ewert and Cooper Robinson, like this team is a team that could make a run. And you've got some of your pillars still there. Like you still have Micah Christensen and you still have Eric Shoji. So you know that the team is going to be able to pass the ball. The team is going to be able to set the ball well. And the firepower at all positions is still pretty good. Now, I still haven't really seen this team surprise me in a way where they like go up against a really strong team. If you know what I mean? Like they still haven't beat anyone really, really good, but they may not have to with this bracket, right? They may not, they may not have to. Also, I really don't understand the Jacob Pasteur slander. I think Pasteur has an elite arm, an elite shoulder, and he can hit the ball damn hard. So that's just my feelings on it. If you guys want to feel differently, you're absolutely more than welcome to. But while this U.S. team hasn't been tested by a really good team, they've done what a lot of other teams couldn't, and they've taken care of business against everyone else. Sure, you can say that their pool is a little sus. I don't necessarily disagree. Cuba was being stupid Cuba. Portugal is Portugal. It looked like Portugal was just happy to play against the U.S. Like stars in their eyes. Like the interview with some of the guys, like, oh, we were playing the U.S. Blah blah blah, all this shit. And then Colombia's Colombia. They didn't really have any of the better European teams in their pool, but it is what it is. All right. Moving forward to Pool E. This is another one that I don't know if you can say there were many upsets. I've seen some people, oh, it's so surprising that Germany didn't make it. No, that's not true at all. You had 3 GVNL teams, and it kind of went down to the wire. It really did. I think a lot of credit has to be given to Bulgaria. So much credit needs to be given to Blengini and what he's been able to do. There's like a few coaching moves throughout this tournament that have been really good. I've talked about Kovac. I just talked about Karch and what he's been able to do with the Americans. But I think Blengini and what he's been able to do, or Blengini? I forget. Soft G, hard G. Can't really remember. What he's been able to do in this tournament has been nothing short of really impressive. This team looks really, really good, and they've all bought into the roles. Where I think you should give some coaching criticism, like if anyone should be criticized, I think it should be Michael Winiarski. There's a few decisions, especially in this last match, that are like completely mind-blowing to me. Now, the first and foremost is the fact that Grosjean hasn't been great, and you haven't found ways to get Philippe Yon into the matches at all. Like there hasn't really been any double subs. You haven't like subbed him in to get him going, even against Chile, and then you sub him in. Like you have him start the 4th set, in a do or die situation, you expect him to carry the team. I fully understand the decision of going with Grosjean. And once again, like the Engapeth thing, you know, you have to play your legends like that. You have to play your big names. You have to play the guys who got you there. And like Grosjean is that guy, but there needed to be a much shorter leash. There needed to be a much shorter leash on Grosjean and Philipp Jon, who was one of the top scorers in the VNL, right? One of the best offensive players in the VNL deserves a little bit more respect than what he got. And then the second thing, especially in this match, is the fact that there seemed to be absolutely no serving strategy whatsoever. None. You have an opposite on the left side. You have an opposite, someone who is not known for passing the ball on the left side, but instead you spread the ball around. Kovacic got 24 targets. Ziga Stern got 22 targets. And Mujanovic got 20. And now you can look at how their stats played out and be like, you know, Everett, Kovacic was only passing 33% positive and 21% perfect. Ziga Stern was only passing 22 or 50% positive and 9% perfect. Mujanovic wasn't terrible in his passing numbers, 45% positive and 15% perfect. But it's not about getting the results in serve receive. Slovenia is a high ball team. Slovenia is a high ball team, right? This is a team that thrives on knowing that they don't pass well, and they train for that. So it doesn't matter that their passing wasn't fantastic. It doesn't matter. What you should have been doing in this situation is putting stress on an opposite player playing on the left side. What it should have been like the way that Argentina was like, Engapeth is out of shape. We're going to make him touch every single ball, right? Just so that he needs to make those decisions. He needs to take those steps. He needs to move that transition. They did none of that with Mujanovic, right? He was not under stress. And then he turned around and absolutely torched them offensively. 16 points. He was 14 for 22, hitting a 64% with a 55% efficiency and with 2 aces, right? He wasn't bothered by having to play on the left side because you bailed him out and didn't serve the ball against him. That's like coaching 101. Coaching 101. Okay? If like for me, when I'm coaching, it's been a while now, but like I'm a fucking good coach. Like I know what the fuck I'm doing out here. There's 2 options. I'm going after your best player. Like if you have one guy, and like especially coaching like in the college league that I was coaching in the OCAA, every team has one guy, and it's usually on the left side. So we're either going to try to break that guy and to give him every single ball, and you know he may be fine in the first, he may be fine in the second, but then he'll start breaking down later on. Or you find the weak link. And if the weak link in passing and the strong link in attacking are both the same guy, put the pressure on him. I'm sorry, that's volleyball 101. Winiarski, what the hell were you doing? I just really don't understand. Doesn't make sense to me. Germany, if you need a coach, call me up. I'd love to do it, okay? Moving on to Pool F, where Belgium. Man, I talked about them in the preview with their trio of outsides. I talked about them after they donged Ukraine to put themselves in the driver's seat. And then they produced what I think was the best match of group stage, a 3-2 win over Italy. And now this one was almost very similar. It was very similar actually to the Argentina-France game. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat. Orkin, I will do that, but you have to pay me. I will come coach your jam team, but I'm expensive. I'm just saying. But I would absolutely do that. I'm actually going to be Orkin. I didn't know you were from Toronto. That's sick. I thought you were a Turkish guy. Like I know you're Turkish, but the fact that you're pulling up jam is you're definitely a Toronto guy. But I'm actually throughout this winter going to be focusing a lot more on adult volleyball. So yeah, if you want some coaching or if you want your jam team to be coaching, we can definitely work that out. Just a little plug out there for all my Toronto people. Back to Pool F. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. My ADHD is getting the best of me. My Vyvanse is wearing off. Okay, Belgium is good. Belgium is really, really good. I'm really glad that they're joining the VNL this year. I mean, we saw a blink of it back in 2023 when they almost, like, they should have gone to the Olympics. Canada should not have gone to the Olympics in that stage. We would have still qualified through direct. Don't you forget that. However, but they shit the bed for themselves in set number, or sorry, not in set number, whatever, when they lost to Bulgaria. And now in this match, there was a lot of the same. Belgium went up 2-0. They came out really, really aggressive offensively, and they really dictated the pace of play. And then Italy started being Italy and made some. Actually, Italy was not being Italy. Di Giorgi was not being Di Giorgi. Fefe actually brought in the bench. We saw Spertoli. When do we ever see Spertoli when playing for Italy? And then that's when Italy started to claw themselves back. But in the fifth, there was just no urgency on the Italian side of the net. And I am a little worried about this Italian team because it seems like they lack some of that urgency, and they don't dictate the pace of play when they need to sometimes. They let the game come to them. And like, especially in the fifth, I thought that there was a huge issue. Overall in the match, Belgium just outdug Italy. It wasn't even close. And the Belgium libero, and I completely forget his name, and I forgot to write it down here in my notes. Yeah, the 19-year-old. Wait, where's his name? Guys, come on. Why can't I find this? I'm getting mad at you when this is completely my fault for not taking my book notes into my online notes. But their 19-year-old libero, Gorik Lansot, was unreal. 17 digs in the matchup against Italy, which was absolutely incredible. Apparently, he has some type of internship or apprenticeship lined up after this and wasn't really going to be playing volleyball. I think that might change. But Italy, was really struggling earlier on. Micheletto, but like Romano was struggling. They brought in Richlicki. He was much better. Gianelli was struggling. They brought in Spertoli. He was much better. Russo was struggling. They brought in Gargiulo. He was much better. But in the fifth set, they just seem lackadaisical. I mean, they scored 13 points on paper, but Belgium gave them 7 of those points, right? Belgium missed 5 serves, and then they gave them 2 unforced errors, and Italy was still unable to convert that. But also, you set the ball 9 times in the fifth set. Only 2 of them went to Micheletto. Only 2 sets to the best fucking player in the world in the fifth set. What are we doing? Maybe this is why Spertoli doesn't play. Because you're just spamming Bottolo and Richlicki. Richlicki was like 2 for 4. Bottolo was 1 for 4. Each of them was, not that. Both of them had like under a 25% efficiency. Micheletto was 2 for 2, and you couldn't get the job done. And then blocking in the fifth for Italy was non-existent. They had 4 blocks in the third, 5 blocks in the fourth, none in the fifth. And their blocking is really what helped them change the game in sets 3 and 4. But also, when you talk about that matchup, you have to talk about Ferry Regers, because he's the best opposite in the world right now. I don't think you can deny that. He was had 31 points in this one, 27 for 53, 51% hitting, 30% efficiency, 2 blocks and 2 aces. He has been the best opposite in this tournament, bar none. And if anyone else votes for anyone else in the All-Stars, you're getting booted from the Discord. I'm sorry, that's just like, you cannot be voting for anyone but Ferry Regers. And I've already seen some people who have, and you guys are idiots. Idiots if you're not voting for Ferry Regers. He has been absolutely unreal. And then, like I said, Belgium just completely outworked Italy in all facets of the game, but especially on defense. 79 digs compared to just 66 for Italy. They did turn around today and beat Ukraine. Belgium took care of Algeria as expected, but really big ups for this Belgium team to be the number 1 team in Pool F. And I guess we'll see how it looks for them after that, because the bracket's going to be interesting. The bracket's going to be interesting. Pool G, I mean, we've already talked about it at depth. Big congratulations for Turkey to keep taking care of business. Congratulations for Japan for getting on the board. Good job. Good job. Yeah, I mean, that's really all to say about that. Overall, when talking about the performance of this Canadian team, I'm happy we move on. I'm happy we're moving on. It's not something that I thought there was very much a possibility that we would not move on, and that would have sucked. 2 world championships in a row. However, I'm just not super stoked on how we played against Turkey. And someone said during the watch along, once again, Berkay, thank you very much. That was a lot of fun. We're definitely going to be doing more watch alongs with people from the community. I think that's going to be really fun moving forward. And I will be doing a watch along on Saturday morning for Canada versus Poland. Duh. But I think it was Munax who said during watching that, it's like, Everett, you seem more disappointed in how you played than that we lost. And like, absolutely. If we had gone out guns blazing and played a fantastic match against Turkey and lost, it would have been fine. But we didn't. We played probably our worst match of the summer. But then hearing the interviews afterwards, as Finn said, he's like, this isn't a panic button where we need to go and change everything right now. Like, we still know we are. We're still with our same process. And, we just need to use this as a motivation, as a learning point. Same thing from Dan Lewis. It seemed like he was really frustrated. It just seemed like things weren't happening on the Canadian side like they should have been. But he even took some accountability and said, maybe I didn't have them prepared well enough. But this result for me and Team Canada doesn't dictate how I feel about this team overall. Still very happy with everything. And also, biggest of congratulations to Turkey, one of the few teams to get a full 9 points throughout this tournament. I think it's just them and Poland. And you know what? They fully deserve it. They look like a much, much better team. And I've said for a long time now, like I talked about it before the VNL, talked about it before this tournament, that they have the roster and they have the players to make a deep run. And now that they're not working with Umit Kakir and not working with Turkish coaches anymore, they're going to get really good. Honestly, one of my biggest worries in life is that they finally convinced Glenn to go coach for Turkey. I don't think he would ever do that, especially like with like, he's so ingrained in the Canadian system and still working directly with Volleyball Canada in so many ways that I don't think he ever would. But if Turkey got Glenn Hoag one day, that would be gross. Gross. Absolutely gross. So once again, congratulations, Turkey. Congratulations to all of our Turkish fans in the Discord. I really like watching you guys play, except when you play against us. That's just bullshit. So that's what it is. Pool H is another one, obviously, that we talked about before. 2 teams with 3 wins. Terrible for Brazil, the fact that they're 1 loss and 1 set loss to China. Sewered them, but that is just the way she goes. And that's life sometimes. And it sucks. I really feel for Brazil. I love Brazilian volleyball. I love Brazilian people. I love your country. I can't wait to come back. But that just what it is. And also, China. Oh, but also, okay, like big ups to Serbia. They turned things around after the 3-donging of against Czechia. Also, Czechia bouncing back after getting donged by Brazil and went out and beat China in a not so easy game when they didn't have their best player in Lucas Vashina, right? And Indra, who we know is an outstanding scorer, really took hold of the match and led the team. But Lucas Vashina is so important for this team, not only in attack, but he's also low-key one of the best serve receivers and one of the best ball control guys there is in volleyball. And that is a huge hit for Czech volleyball altogether. I was really worried that they weren't going to make it happen. Slash not, because I also would have liked to see Brazil go on. But really happy for these Czech guys. I don't know why, and Marie, I know you'll agree with me in the chat, but always a lot of love for athletes from Czechia, because they send us a lot of their young athletes to come play in the Canadian Hockey League. And the Canadian Hockey League is chock full of good young Czech talent. So there's a little bit of affinity there. You know, we're two hockey countries playing volleyball, and a lot of our Canadian guys go to play in Czechia as well too, because there's good money for our foreigners over there. So big ups to Czechia. And moving on, they might, because they're going to be, well, I mean, might as well go to the bracket now, which is the wildest bracket I think we have ever seen. No doubt about it. Looking at this left side, what is this left side? What is this left side? On the top left, if you're just listening to this, Tunisia against Czechia, Serbia against Iran. What? Wow. And then on the bottom, USA, Slovenia, Bulgaria, Portugal. That's bottom left. Top right, Poland, Canada, Turkey, Netherlands, and then bottom right, Argentina, Italy, Belgium, Finland. And yes, it's just like the women's tournament, where just the pure laziness of having to play the same team maybe from your own pool in the quarterfinals if you both win the round of 16 is just classic volleyball. Like, let's just do things the laziest way possible is how I've viewed volleyball a lot of my life. And this continues to be that right away. Imagine if we had a draw. Like, all the first place teams go into one pool, and then all the second place teams go into one pool, and we just pick it. That would have made it so interesting. That would have made it so interesting. But instead, we have this crap. So we'll break it down a little bit. Tunisia versus Czechia. I expect Czechia to win that one. No hate on Tunisia, but that one is on the third day. Like, it's not until, or it's on the last day. Yeah, that round is on the last day, so there's a huge chance for, wait, that's Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That's Tuesday, I think, right? Yeah, that's good math. They're not playing until Tuesday, so that's a really good opportunity for Vashina to rest up and heal up a little bit. And if he does that, I think definitely advantage Czechia. And on the bottom half, Serbia, Iran is about as close as you're going to get in terms of teams in the first round. This is two teams since 2019 who are 3-3 against each other. Two teams who are both very, very proud nations. Two teams who love to hit the ball hard and who are very, very physical. And I think it's going to be a really, really good one. I think these are two teams that match up really, really well, and I think it's going to be an exciting match, and I think it's going to get spicy. So both of those matches on the 23rd will be really good. And let's just go backwards. Okay, we'll just go backwards. In dates on the 22nd. Once again, this is the left half of the bracket. You have USA versus Slovenia, and I think this is going to be super interesting once again because USA still hasn't really been tested. But can they game plan for Slovenia, who is shorthanded, right? Once again, no Mozic, no Chibul. They've got Mujanovic on the left side. And can the US, like, Slovenia is a much better blocking team, especially down the middle. Can, Christensen use the talent out there to get past Slovenia? I honestly think that they will. I think that this is a better team than we saw in the VNL, and I think that this is a team that is going to be. They're just going to take care of business, and I can see them taking care of business against Slovenia. Like, this shorthanded Slovenia team. If Germany was smarter and Winiarski was a better coach, I don't think Slovenia would be here. And I mean, that's just my own opinion, just trying to stir the pot a little bit. On the bottom side, Bulgaria against Portugal. I think Portugal is in a really tough spot against Bulgaria. This Bulgarian team is really cooking. And, Portugal beat up on North and South America teams, right? They beat up on Cuba and Colombia and looked absolutely average against the USA. So I think this one is going to be advantage Bulgaria, which, to be honest, I do think that USA-Bulgaria matchup is going to be really spicy and a bit of a volleyball world wet dream now that Japan is out, because, I know for a fact how much of pull we get, like Moni gets, and, Bulgaria gets in general because of him. And the biggest market for Moni is the US. So the fact that these two teams are going to go head to head in the quarterfinals is absolutely huge. It's going to be motivation for Moni to go out there and play against some of those guys and show them up, especially like the Cooper Robinsons and the guys who have played right now. Same thing with Alex too. Like, Alex, I think he was my first team outside All-Star. He has been absolutely unreal in these world championships. So for these two guys who have made their name playing for Long Beach in the NCAA to get a potential chance to go up against the US in the quarterfinals, I think is going to be spicy. I think is going to be unreal. That better be a later match on the 25th. They're like Volleyball World, I know some of you are listening. Put that match later, please, please, please. Put that on the 8 p.m. time in the Philippines, because you get a much better time in Bulgaria. There'll be an afternoon match in Bulgaria, like 2 p.m. match in Bulgaria, and at least it'll be 8 a.m. on the Eastern Seaboard. And you know what, people in because like even if you're playing, even if you have them play at the 3:30 match, that's still midnight 12:30 at night in the US and 6:30 in the morning for Bulgaria, right? Whereas you could potentially have Iran, which is a little bit different. I don't know, Ozzy, I don't know if the quarterfinal and semifinal times are set, but those things can always change. Like, especially if they're running in the same day, the same venue, it's really not that big of a deal. So please, 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 if it's Bulgaria versus USA, please put that in the prime time spot. Okay? And I mean, they probably will. I know that people have been complaining a lot about the attendance at this event, which is not surprised given what we've been hearing about some of the ticket prices. Like, when you're putting tickets as expensive as like a month's salary for some people in the Philippines, that's what's going to happen. So apparently they've been absolutely slashing prices over there. So it should be fun. I do think that looking on the left side of this bracket, like, once again, Brazil would have been like either Czechia or Serbia. They would have had a perfect line to go take on USA or Bulgaria, because those are my two picks in the semifinals. But I don't think that's going to be happening. I don't think it's not going to be happening, because Brazil ain't here. Brazil didn't make it. On the big schedule graphic, it says our round 16 quarterfinals and semifinals match order to be determined based on media requests. Okay, that makes sense. No, that's why Poland and Canada are in the prime time spot. Good. Really, Belgium and Finland? That's you put Italy, Argentina in the early slot? Wild. So yeah, that left half could have been way different. I honestly think Czechia is going to make it out. If Czechia can get Vashina back, I think we're going to have a Czechia versus USA/Bulgaria in the semifinals, which is wild. If Czechia, who's not even in the VNL, who wasn't even expected to make it at a group play, makes it to the semifinals, whoo! Wow, that would be crazy. Now, on the right side of the black bracket, a little bit different over there. At that top slot, Poland versus Canada. Now, I will say this. We're a really good bounce back team. We are a really, really good bounce back team. This summer, whenever we've had a bad match, we've bounced back and had a really good match. So there's that. There's that A, number one. And the other part of this may be a stretch, but I got to hold on to something here. We are 1-0 against teams in which Show has played in that country, right? Show has been played the past few years, and we are 1-0 against Japan. Played in Japan, and we're 1-0 against them. Show did start his career playing for Oniko Warszawa under Stefan Antiga, playing with guys like Kurek and a bunch of those guys in Poland. Not to mention, Show also played a year in Perugia with Leon. So there's some familiarity with them. If I know one thing about this man, is that he loves going out there and proving himself. And Poland's still the favorite here. Poland is still the favorite. However, this could be setting up Show for a little bit of magic. A little bit of magic. I'm expecting him to bounce back after what was a bit of an atrocious Turkey game. But I believe in him. And I believe in our team. And I believe that even if we don't beat Poland, it is going to be a much, much better job by my Canadians in the round of 16 against what could be, or down now what it is, 100% the tournament favorite. I think there's no doubt about it, with Italy looking lukewarm like they are, and Poland being as good as they are. That's just the truth of it. In that other matchup just below it, I don't think it should be any question that Turkey should be the favorite in this one. I think that they're looking really, really good, and as better as the Dutch have looked, I don't think they match up on paper at all with the Dutch, or with Turkey. Sorry. So advantage Turkey full on in that matchup. All right, now at the bottom corner, Argentina versus Italy is going to be spicy. I think that's going to be a really spicy matchup. I really think it is, because Argentina wants it, and I'm very unsure about this Italian team. I'm very unsure about this Italian team. I've said it before. I've said it in this show, so you can go back and check that out. I'm very unsure of what this Italian team is going to bring to the table. And now I hope they bring a little bit more urgency, because you know that Argentina is going to bring the urgency. You absolutely know that. I'm expecting a bigger match from Polonsky. Not that he played terrible against France, but Vicentine was the guy. But this is two of the best setters in the world, the Checo and Gianelli, going head to head. And Gianelli is a competitive guy. Like, we saw how he was, and I talked to him after playing against Bulgaria in the VNL, and he wants to go out there and play against the best. He wants to go out there and play against the best, and I think that's exactly what Gianelli is going to do in this one. But I don't think it's out of the question. I really do not think it's out of the question for Argentina to get past Italy. Italy, they're just lacking a certain something somehow. And now maybe it's just a little bit of the group stage blues, a little bit in the same of the VNL, where they just don't feel challenged and they need to turn things on. But we saw this Italian team really crumble underneath the pressure last year at the Olympics, and you have an Argentinian team that really doesn't have much to lose going up against one of the best teams in the world, and they are highly motivated. And De Checo was in his bag, right? This match is not going to go on until Sunday, so there's still a lot of time for this Argentinian team to rest. Same thing with Italy, but I think that's going to be very interesting. And then on the other side, you have the two biggest surprises of the tournament, in my opinion, in Belgium and Finland. Two teams from the Golden League going toe-to-toe. And I think it's going to be really interesting. I think this is going to be really interesting. Can Finland handle the high-powered outside offense that Belgium has? Because right now, when you're looking at their trio of outsides, Belgium is almost as good as it gets, right? Riegers is one of the best scorers in the tournament, so can they shut him down? I think this is a toss-up, but I do think I give advantage Belgium. They're just a little bit more polished, a little better, and they're a little bit more used to playing in these big situations, right? We saw them play at the 2023 OQT, and I'm hoping that they've learned their lesson, right? Even there was a moment in the Italian match that I didn't think. I didn't think they were going to win it. And I even put in the Discord that I thought they were choking, because even in the fourth, they led for a little bit and then started choking and then let that one slip away. But then managed to tighten things up in the fifth and go for it. So I think that they're a little bit more battle tested than Finland. Finland didn't necessarily expect to get here. They needed a really, really sloppy performance against France to get here. So if Belgium can stay aggressive, it'll be really good. And I think they can move on to the quarterfinals potentially, and we might see a rematch. And I will say this: if Belgium has to play Italy in the quarterfinals, I think Italy takes that. It's like a 3-0 or 3-1. It's just too hard to beat a team twice in one tournament, and it's too hard to beat a team that good like Italy, who are the defending world champions, twice in a tournament. So if it's Italy-Belgium, I'm going Italy. But if it's Argentina-Belgium, I think it's a toss-up. I really, really think it's a toss-up. I think Belgium has the advantage on the outside. I think that Roti and Deroux and Riegers are better than Polonsky, Vicentin, and Kukartsev, but Argentina has the advantage everywhere else. Like they have the advantage on the middle, especially with Lozer and how he's been playing. They have definitely have the advantage in setting. They have the advantage at libero, despite how good Langshot was. But Donani is just an absolute bulldog out there. And they also have the advantage of coaching. Zanini has been really great, but Mendez is just unreal. And there's a lot of these guys who have made deep runs in tournaments before. There's a lot of these guys who are Olympic bronze medalists, so they know how to be there. But you can't count out Ferry Regers. You absolutely can't count out Ferry Regers. So all in all, I'm picking Italy to come out of this group. You have to. I'm begrudgingly picking Poland to come out of their group as well. And we're going to have what should have been the final in a lot of ways in the semifinal. And then they're going to take on whatever schmutz comes out of the left half of the bracket. I'm going to call it right now. I think like Poland right now is my favorite. Poland right now is my favorite to win this tournament. And as much as, you know, I really like the Italian team, and as much as, like, you know, even watching the Americans, I think would be fun with this ragtag group of guys. Like if the Americans were able to do this without Anderson and DeFalco and Russell and Holt. Am I missing anyone? Oh, Jayski. Can't forget Jayski as well. That would be hilarious, but I don't know if it's necessarily in the cards. So I do think that Poland is potentially going to be able to win this tournament. Just because, like, they've got the roster, but they've also got the reasons too, as well. They've also got that story. Winning Gerbic his first ever world championship and winning Leon his first ever world championship, I think would be really, really special. Really, really special. And yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up, as we have been going for pretty much 2 hours straight here. Now, there is one thing that I do want to bring up, and hopefully I can get it in time. But big shout out to Chem, Rodman's Hair on Discord, who went and made our Google form for the All-Stars. I'm putting in the chat right now. I wonder if I can pin it. Oh yeah, pin this message. Great. So, and I will also put it in the show notes for those who are watching. And I would really appreciate if you guys went and voted. I will be announcing our awards on a live stream tomorrow. So there's just under 20. It's been up for a few hours. There's going to be just under 24 hours to put in your vote. Would really appreciate if you guys did it. And yeah, I think that's about it. I am really stoked to be watching the next matches. I don't think, as I said, like, I don't know if I'm going to be watching any of the 3:30 matches. Maybe only Italy, Argentina on like Sunday night. None of the other ones I'm really all that interested in getting up at 3:30 in the morning and watching. But yeah, I think it's going to be fun. And I said in the Discord that, like, you know, what's the bad thing about a very unpredictable group stage is that you might have a predictable playoffs. But I think that especially on the left side of this bracket, and even like there's only one bracket that I think is going to be super predictable, and I think that's going to be the top right, unfortunately, where my Canadian guys are at. And now in my heart, I'm voting for them, but I also can't be called a stooge just because I'm sitting here talking shit. So, yeah, make sure you guys join the Discord, the Volleyball Source Discord, if you haven't. If you are a snowflake and can't take the heat, then don't. When I say I'm a snowflake, I'm very left wing, by the way. I'm not a right wing anarchist at all who uses that a lot. But I just think it's funny that so many of you are crying and be like, "Oh, he poured water on the floor." Oh, especially when it's coming from like our Turkish fans, who you guys have Karakurt on your women's team who act like she wins the Olympics every time she goes block out against Korea. Like, get over yourselves. And then also, you know, the Russian guy talking about ethics when your country is most known for a statewide doping scandal. Just grow up. Just absolutely grow up. Giani wanted to win, and we saw that. And it is what it is. Okay. So I love you all. I will see you again tomorrow. I will be going live at noon Eastern time with JTM from Instagram and TikTok. JTM V-Ball, where we're gonna have a good time with it, and then I may be going. Oh no! And then I will also be going on live a little later to announce the All-Star Awards. Okay, so you guys get 2 lives tomorrow. You're welcome. And then I will be also doing a live watch along for Canada versus Poland on the 20th. Maybe Argentina versus Italy. Like, I don't know why they put that game there. That's just stupid. That's just absolutely stupid. Yes, Ozzy. He is the guy that looks like Rob, funnily enough. And then yeah, I'll probably do all of those primetime games. Serbia, Iran, I think is going to get spicy. So I'll definitely do that, and of course USA versus Slovenia. So for at least 3 of those round of 16 matches, we will be doing a watch along. Okay, cool. Would never seen a French guy not celebrating the win, but when they lose, the other team has to be respectful. It is what it is. But anyways, thank you all, everyone. It's been a lot of fun. This World Championships has been way more fun than I expected. The Discord has been a lot of fun. I love you all. Appreciate you all. Have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.